This AI model has the power to revolutionize the entire video production industry. Now, with just your PC at home, you can create stunning action scenes for your own characters. Hello everyone, I'm Sotai. Just a few days ago, ByteDance released the WAN2.2 Animate model, and honestly, this is one of the most impressive solutions I've seen in recent times. Within only a few hours of launch, forums have been flooded with stunning results from WAN2.2 Animate, like the ones you're seeing here. With this model, you can control a character's actions while keeping them consistent, or even completely replace the character in the original video. Sounds amazing, right? So, in this video, I'll show you how to use WAN2.2 Animate for free with ComfyUI, how to use it effectively, and how to optimize your workflow so it runs smoothly even on a PC with limited VRAM. Alright, let's get started. First, to run the WAN2.2 Animate workflow on ComfyUI, you need to prepare a few things. Make sure your ComfyUI is updated to the latest version by opening the ComfyUI Manager, selecting the nightly version, and clicking Update. If you're new to ComfyUI, you can install the ComfyUI Manager by following the link I've shared. Second, you need to install the custom node ComfyUI WAN Video Wrapper by ComfyUI. Simply open the ComfyUI Manager, go to Custom Node, search for WAN Video Wrapper by ComfyUI, and update it to the latest version. Finally, download all the required models and place them in the correct folders. The WAN2.2 Animate GGUF version by WANstack goes into the Unet folder, the LoRa WAN 2.2 Lite X2V into the LoRa folder, the UTM-5 clip model into the text encoder or clip folder, and the WAN 2.1 VAE model into the V folder. Once everything is set up, we're ready to build and optimize the WAN Animate workflow together. Alright, I've already put together the workflow, and I'll be sharing it in a Patreon post. Now, I know at first glance it looks like a lot of nodes and can seem a bit overwhelming, especially if you're new to ComfyUI. Don't worry though, before we dive into the details of each part, let me walk you through the main idea behind this workflow so it'll all make a lot more sense. So here I've got a simpler workflow to show you. WAN2.2 Animate is already integrated into ComfyCore through a node called WAN Animate to Video, which I've loaded here. The output of this node gives us a positive condition, a negative condition, and a latent, which are then passed into the K-sampler node for the actual sampling process. And from here, it's basically the same as what you've seen in my other videos. We use the VAE model to decode the latent into a sequence of frames, and that gives us the final video. For example, I just typed in a simple prompt, "A woman is running," and passed it into the WAN Animate node, and boom, it generated a video that perfectly matches the prompt. That's the basic text-to-video workflow. But of course, the real challenge is when we want more control, like defining the exact actions of a character, just like in those demo results I showed earlier. And that's where it gets interesting because WAN Animate supports more than just text prompts. It also allows additional inputs to give you precise control over the final video. Specifically, we have the following inputs. The reference image is where you provide an image of your character to control who appears in the final video. The face video is where you provide a face recording to guide expressions, eye movement, and lip sync. The pose video is where you provide a skeleton or pose video to control the character's body movements. The background video is where you define the scenery of the shot. The character mask works alongside the background video to give you more precise control over the background. And finally, Continue motion is where you feed in a previous video if you want to create consecutive shots. So in short, all those nodes in the earlier workflow were really just there to create these conditions, which are then plugged into the WAN Animate to Video node. That's all there is to it. Alright, let's jump back to our main workflow, and this time I'll walk you through each part step by step so it all makes sense. The very first thing we need to do is define the output parameters for our video. That means setting the width, the height, and the length of the video, which is basically just the number of frames. These values are saved as variables, so later on, the following nodes will automatically load them. And of course, if you want a longer video, just bump up the frame count right here. Next up, just like in the simpler workflow I showed earlier, we need to load the WAN2.2 Animate model that you downloaded at the beginning. In my case, I'm testing out the WAN 2.2 Animate GGU FQ8 version. Then we've got the UMT5 XXL clip here, which you've probably seen plenty of times in workflows with WAN models. For the VAE, I'm going with WAN 2.1. That's because this workflow is running on the 14B model. The WAN 2.2 VAE only works properly with the 5B model. On top of that, I'm also enabling Sage Attention and loading the LiteX2V LoRa model, which helps cut down the inference time. When it comes to sampling, make sure to set it to 8, this way you won't run into weird artifacts in your results. The prompt itself is super simple. It's just a description of the character's movement. For example, here I'm using, "A woman is running." The rest of the workflow should look familiar. The positive and negative prompts go into the WAN Animate to Video node, and then it connects directly to the KSampler node with 6 steps. 6 steps are more than enough since we already loaded the LiteX2V LoRa earlier. For sampler and scheduler, I'm sticking with Euler and Simple, which are the go-to settings in most workflows anyway. Finally, the VAE model takes care of decoding the latent output from the KSampler node and turns it into the final video. And here's the key difference compared to the earlier workflow. Now we also have extra conditions connected into the other inputs of the WAN Animate to Video node. That gives us much more control over all the different elements in the video. The way we create these conditions is actually handled in the upper part of the workflow. First, we have the reference image. To set this up, you simply load the character image you want and run it through a resize image node so the width and height match the output video settings we defined earlier. One important note here, you should upload an image with the right aspect ratio and framing for your final video. For example, my output is close to a 16:9 aspect ratio, so I uploaded a character image with the same ratio. And since I only want an upper body shot in my final video, the uploaded image is also cropped to show just the upper body. Next, we have the face video and pose video. To create these, you'll need to upload a reference video. In my case, I'm using a clip of a girl jogging in the park. The parameters from the final output video, like resolution and frame count, are applied here so the reference gets resized to match. Just like with the reference image, you should also make sure the video you upload has a similar aspect ratio to your expected result. And here's a key detail. The frame count is fixed at 16, so you'll need to convert your reference video to this frame rate first. Otherwise, the motion won't sync properly. Once the video is resized, it's saved and then passed into the AI model for processing. Here I'm using DW Pose, which is hands down one of the best models for skeleton detection. And as you can see, the result is a clean pose video with an accurate skeleton that matches perfectly with the reference I uploaded. This output is stored as pose images and then sent into the corresponding pose video input. Finally, since we already have the detected key points from the face area, we can also create a face-focused video of the character. The WAN Video Wrapper custom node makes this easy with the face mask from pose keypoints node, which generates a mask for the facial region. After cropping the original reference video based on that mask, we end up with a clean face video like you see here. It focuses entirely on the character's face, keeping all the details of expression and lip sync, and this gets passed directly into the WAN Animate node. Next up, we've got the background video and the character mask. These two conditions are basically the opposite of each other. To separate the character region from the rest of the video, the reference clip gets passed into Meta's SAM2 model. As you can see in this example, the model does a really solid job of segmenting different objects in the scene. But here's the key. To tell the model exactly which one is your character, you need to make that selection on the very first frame. Thankfully, ComfyUI has already made this super easy for us with a node called Points Editor. Here's how it works. If you hold Ctrl plus left click, you'll get green circles. Just place these green circles on different parts of your character, especially on areas with different colors, to help the model lock on more accurately. On the other hand, if you hold Ctrl plus right click, you'll get red circles. These are for marking the background, and it's best to place them right along the edges of your character, since that's where the model is most likely to get confused. The output from SAM2 then gets refined using Grow Mask and Blockify Mask. What you'll see is a stack of black blocks outlining the segmented region. By tweaking the expand and block size values, you can adjust the mask's thickness. And the cool part is you don't need pixel-perfect precision here. That said, it's a good idea to preview the result and increase those values if parts of your character are still showing up in the background, because otherwise you'll get artifacts in the final video. This becomes even more important when your character has fast or dynamic movements. And then we've got the background video saved right here, and the character mask saved right here. And finally, we've got the continue motion parameter. Like I mentioned earlier, this one lets you generate longer videos. But since the goal of this video is just to walk you through a simple WAN2.2 Animate workflow, I'll save the detailed explanation of how to use it for another video. So for now, we're just going to leave this parameter empty to keep things simple, and you don't need to worry about the continue motion max frame setting either. Alright, so I've now walked you through every part of this workflow. Now let's take a look at how well it actually performs through my own test runs. First up, let's check out the results using the exact inputs I've been describing. And as you can see, WAN2.2 Animate is honestly amazing. I've got the character I wanted right here with movements, expressions, and the background all perfectly matching the original video I uploaded. If we zoom in a bit, you'll notice the details stay consistent too. Things like clothing, lighting all remain stable throughout the whole video. Another cool thing is how secondary movements look natural compared to the main motion. For example, you can see the shirt flapping the opposite way when the girl swings her arm forward, or her hair lifting as she runs. All these little touches make the generated video feel super realistic, almost like the original footage. That said, there's still one weak spot here, the face similarity. If you look closely, the character's face doesn't fully match the reference image I uploaded at the start. To fix that, you can simply load in a character LoRa. Since this model is trained entirely on WAN2.2, you can safely use character LoRa built on WAN2.2 as part of this workflow to improve face consistency. Alright, let's move on to another example. As you can see here, this time I want to test how well the workflow can actually control facial expressions, since the previous result didn't really highlight that part clearly. I've also swapped in a new character image. Now it's a portrait instead of just the upper body, so it fits better with the scenario of the generated video. And of course, we need to adjust the prompt to match the new setup. For this run, the prompt is simply, portrait of a woman. That's it, nice and simple. Now, when you upload a new video, you'll want to skip the nodes related to the K-sampler, like I'm showing here, because the existing conditions won't be correct anymore. They'll need to be retuned after you observe the new results. Alright, let's hit run and check out how the background video turns out. Like I said, the circles from the old setup don't really fit here, so you can see the background video isn't coming out right. That's why we need to tweak it a bit to make the background more accurate. Just drag those red circles outside of the portrait area, hit run, and check it again. Alright, now the background video looks correct, no more lower body showing up in the shot. Let's quickly check the other two conditions, pose video and face video. Both of them are exactly how we want. Once you've confirmed that all the conditions are correct, go ahead and reopen the sampler node, hit run, and let's check out the final result together. As you can see, the mouth movement has been expanded just like in the reference video I uploaded. And this time, the character's identity is much more consistent with the reference compared to the previous result. This shows us another powerful feature of this workflow, lip sync. You can actually use it to create portrait-style videos where your character is not only moving but also syncing their mouth just like in the sample video. Pretty cool, right? For the final example, I want to show you the ability to work with fantasy characters. As you can see here, I used a werewolf as the reference character and asked it to generate a video of him standing on a city street. I've already run the workflow to save some time, and here's the result. It's completely consistent and honestly pretty impressive. The details are almost perfectly preserved. This shows just how powerful this workflow is when it comes to handling 3D or fantasy-style characters. And here's a little tip. If you want to keep the original animated or 3D background, you can simply skip the background video and character mask conditions. That way, the output will use the background you provide. Here's an example of that result. What's even cooler is that the output also copies the camera movement from the original video, which makes things a lot more convenient. This really feels like a huge step forward for film and video production in the future. Alright, so that wraps up this tutorial where I showed you a brand new solution to control character actions in your generated videos. Since this video is already getting a bit long, in the next one I'll show you how to optimize VRAM usage in this workflow and how to work with longer video outputs. I really hope you watched through the entire video to catch all my tips and guidance. For now, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.